Okay, thank you. Welcome, Beth. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Looking forward to talking with you today. So I'm delighted today to welcome Beth Probert to our fireside chat. Beth was the first person in her family to attend university where she studied astrophysics, and she's now a software engineer at Capgemini Engineering. She's also the vice chair of the Wise Young Professionals Board, where she's actively involved as a role model, encouraging more women to consider a career in technology. She's joined us today to talk about her route into technology through an apprenticeship programme with Corndel and to provide inspiration for future generations looking to pursue a career in tech without formal STEM background. Beth's hard work and passion for technology hasn't gone unnoticed. Her commitment to EDI has definitely been recognised. She's been a finalist for many awards over the last couple of years, including Computer Weekly's Most Influential Women in Tech, We Are the City's Rising Star in Science Engineering, and the Institution of Engineering and Technology's Young Woman of the Year. So she's certainly got a lot of accolades to her belt, but more recently, um, Beth was celebrated by Computer Weekly as a rising star within the industry. The category of the awards recognises the next generation of influential women in the UK's technology sector and individuals who are already making a notable difference to the industry. So I'm absolutely honoured and delighted to have you on the call today. And yeah, I just wanted to start off really, Beth, by asking you, obviously congratulating you on the recognition, which I know I've already done offline, but really to find out what that recognition means to you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. So yeah, that recognition was, gosh, it was such an honour to be listed alongside so many incredible women from UK tech. So particularly in the long list and then the short list of the most influential women in tech, there were CEOs, CTOs, various other very senior women, people who had founded charities, had founded their own companies, and people who I look up to as role models and have done for years, and some people who I even know as friends. And so to be listed alongside them in any means was absolutely incredible and a real privilege and almost very surreal. I'm only 2 and a bit years into my career, and so to be so early on in my journey in tech and be recognised for the impact I'm having already was just astounding. I don't necessarily think of myself as being, this big role model, rising star type person, but clearly other people do. And so that's really humbling and also very encouraging. Being a woman in tech can be quite demotivating at times if you're surrounded by the wrong people who tell you, oh, this job isn't for you, and there aren't any other people that look like you in the room. And many women in tech also suffer with things like imposter syndrome and feeling like they're not good enough for this job and they don't belong here. And there's certainly been days where I feel like I don't belong, that I should work in tech, and days that I don't feel very good at my job. And so being recognised in awards like this, but by somebody else putting my name forward, gives me a real sense of, well, actually I can do this, and helps me overcome those insecurities that I might have, and shows me that actually I can do this and I do belong here and I'm actually quite good at what I do. So it really means a lot.
Absolutely, and it's so true. I think we all, I think women more so than men supposedly, but we all have imposter syndrome at some point in our career, don't we? And it's when you're outnumbered potentially in an environment, then naturally you start to question that more so yeah, somebody put you forward. Did you actually find out of interest, because obviously you nominated is anonymous, isn't it? So do you know where it came from, or
No, I
sure?
don't know, and I would love to know.
Yeah.
Thank
If
you for.
anyone's watching this, then yeah,
Yes,
connect with
huge,
Beth.
huge thank you. But I'm so grateful that someone did put me forward, because as I found with this award and the other ones that I've been recognised in, it's really grown my network and helped me meet so many other brilliant women in engineering and technology. Even with the Rising Stars list, so there were 10 of us selected as winners, and one of the other winners, a woman named Nicola, has actually become my mentor as a result of both of us
Fabulous.
being recognised in those awards, and I wouldn't have met her otherwise. So
Yeah.
that's another great benefit of being part of those awards.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, and
Thank
very,
you.
very well deserved. And could you tell us as well a little bit about your career? I think for all the girls and women out there, that there might be young girls looking to start a career, or potentially career shifters, individuals looking to transfer into tech. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you got into your technology role.
Yeah, gosh, it's a bit of a strange story, my one. It's not the traditional, did computing A level, did computer science degree, straight into tech route at all. Although I do know plenty of incredible women who are very clever and have gone down that route, but it wasn't the route for me. So ever since I was small, I've had a real passion for space and science and physics. I've always loved going stargazing. I was lucky enough to grow up in the countryside where there was very little light pollution, so was always up looking at the stars in the middle of the night. And so I decided, okay, I really, really want to study space and had to work out how to do that. As you mentioned, I was the first person in my family to go to university, so that was a very daunting experience for me, trying to work out, which degree program did I want to do, which university did I want to go to, and not really having anyone to be able to support me through that who had been through it was a bit of a challenge. But my family were very encouraging. They've always been the type of people to say, go for what you want. It doesn't matter how hard it is. I know you can do this. And it was difficult, especially coming from a low income family and thinking about the cost of university. Would I need to get a job alongside my studies? And knowing that I was going to do some sort of scientific degree, I knew I wouldn't really have the time to dedicate to a job alongside quite an intensive course. So was very lucky to get a scholarship from Lloyd's Banking Group that meant I didn't have to worry about money anymore, and ended up studying astrophysics at the University of Bath. And I was the first cohort to do that course. It was brand new in 2015 when I joined, so that was very exciting and also part of the reason why I chose it. And I joined university with the intention of doing a master's degree and a PhD in astrophysics, because going to go purely down the research route, would spend my whole life looking into telescopes and be very happy. But then quite early on in my university journey, I realised that actually maybe the research career wasn't for me. I really loved astrophysics. I loved the science. I did not enjoy writing lab reports. I did not enjoy writing essays. And I knew that that's what a career in research was going to mostly be, as well as all the fun stuff. So I dropped down to a bachelor's degree, which would be a couple of years shorter, and then was stuck thinking, okay, what do I do? Because my plan is out the window and I don't really know of any other careers. And it wasn't until I was 21 in my final year of my studies, and I decided to take an optional module called computational astrophysics, which I only really chose because it didn't have an exam. It was 100% coursework, and I thought maybe this will be an easy way out. And so that's where I learned to code in a slightly formal style for the first time. So that was only 3.5 years ago. So I'm quite new to coding still, even now. And in that course, I learned a bit of C and a bit of Python, and I was able to see for the first time how coding and programming can be used to make really incredible things. Like I was simulating fluid instabilities on the edges of stars or the orbits of comets, and with relatively little work, just as long as you understand how to code, you can achieve so many great things. And I found it really exciting, and I enjoyed the challenge of learning something new. And so I thought, right, I want to do coding, I want to do software. How do I do that? But then found a lot of doors closed to me because I hadn't done the more formal approach of computing or computer science at any point in my educational journey. And obviously a lot of software companies do look for those qualifications, whether that's university or A level or a boot camp or something like that. So I had to look for another route, which is when I found Capgemini Engineering's software development apprenticeship for graduates. So you just had to have a science-based degree, which I did have, and a willingness to learn. And I was accepted onto that, which was amazing for me. And I started that in September of 2019. So that was a 1.5 year apprenticeship with Corndel, where I did that alongside my work. So I was given an afternoon a week to complete courses. So a more formal course in Python, another one in Ada and Spark, which is the language we use at work, some courses on UI design and database design, and loads of other great opportunities to learn things that I hadn't been able to pick up before. And then obviously I had to complete some exams, do my portfolio, and was able to finish my apprenticeship in June of this year. So slightly longer than planned because of COVID, but still finished relatively on time, with a distinction, which was amazing for me. And then since then, I've been promoted from a junior software engineer to a consultant software engineer, and I'm now looking at specialising my career in software testing. And that's where we are today.
Wow, that's a really interesting journey, and as you say, you happened upon it really, didn't you? And
Mhm.
I think it's fairly true to say that, yeah, girls don't necessarily dream of being software engineers when they're young.
No.
So it's great to be on a story where you can say that there are opportunities in the apprenticeship as part of that journey, helped you to move into I suppose, into a career that would have otherwise been excluded because of your choices of studies previously. So do you feel there's any other values to the apprenticeship? Any other sort of takeaways from how it worked, and what the benefit was to you as an individual?
So obviously the main benefit was that it filled the formal knowledge gaps that I didn't have, and it actually gave me more time to learn. So if I'd done a boot camp or a master's degree, you know, they're very time constrained and very intense, whereas doing the apprenticeship allowed me to learn a bit more at my own pace. So obviously I had the afternoons a week, and it was relatively self-structured, so I could choose exactly what topic I did that week or whether I worked on a piece of my portfolio. And that allowed me to get into a lot of detail on topics that I knew I wasn't very good at. And if there were topics I was really good at, I could just quickly get them done. I wasn't forced to stay on something for longer than I needed to. And I found that really helpful because it meant you could adapt the apprenticeship to your own learning style, whether you preferred reading books or watching online tutorials or speaking to other people on the apprenticeship and working in a team environment. So I really enjoyed that. And I think another benefit was because there was a cohort of 10 of us, that made it easier to get into work in the first place. This was my first job post graduation and the first time I'd been in an office long term, and I didn't know anybody else before I joined. So having this cohort of 10 of us meant that we all got along really well. I made friends really quickly, and that helped me settle into the business much faster than I think I would have done. Um, and then lastly, I would say that it also helped me develop some soft skills alongside that technical knowledge. So managing apprenticeship studying alongside full-time work obviously involves a lot of time management and organisation, which can be hard to get right in the first couple of months, but then over time that really develops. And I would also say my communication skills, particularly written with having to write the portfolio, definitely improved over the various iterations of my draft and final versions. And yeah, and I think those skills are really important to be able to apply in my job now that my apprenticeship's over. So I'm glad that I've had a year and a half to get them to a really strong point because I feel like it's making me a better software engineer.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, it's really good to hear its added value to you. I was going to ask you, touching back on the mentor that you talked about through the Rising Star, and obviously your exposure to a module that didn't involve didn't involve doing an exam. Are there any other influencing factors that have led you, do you think, on your journey to where you are now? Anything else of note?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the my mum has been a big influence on what I do. As we all know, there are lots of stereotypes around women not being suited to STEM careers, and particularly tech careers, which sadly is having an adverse effect on the industry, with only 17% of women, 17% of the tech workforce being women. And I think I was very lucky to have a mum who was very strong and a fantastic role model to me, and always taught me that, you know, no matter what obstacles are on the way, if you want to do something, you can do it. And I never really wanted to follow the crowd. I didn't really do what my friends wanted to do growing up. I spent a lot of time on my own reading books as a child and spending time out in nature. And other people might have thought I was weird, but my mum was always saying, you know what you like and be true to yourself. And it's some advice that I still carry with me now. Even though I'm surrounded by fantastic colleagues, fantastic friends now who completely support my journey, you do still run into the odd person who says, oh, women should be in the kitchen, or why are you doing this job, or when are you going to have kids, and surely you'll quit when you have kids, and lots of other things like that. But I've now got the correct mindset that allows me to look past it and actually focus on the good things, the things that I'm good at, the good people, and ignore any negativity.
Oh, you're very lucky, and thank you, Mum. Very lucky to have a mum that fully supports, and I think we need to recognise that some people unfortunately don't have that. So no, that's lovely to hear your story, and so important to give you the confidence to be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. coming on to that, it sort of almost leads on to your role at Wise Young Professionals Board. So you're chair of that board. What does that involve for you and your responsibilities?
Yeah, so I've been on the Wise Young Professionals Board for just under 2 years, 2 years in January, and I originally just joined as a standard member. And being on the Wise Young Professionals Board is a voluntary position. It's open to any employees of Wise member companies. So companies get their membership and they get brilliant resources from Wise about improving gender parity in their own business and then encouraging it in the wider industry as well. And they've got fantastic metrics and workshops that employers can go to help actually achieve that in practice. So if you're a member, then you can advertise your.
Oh,
An email was sent around my work saying, hello, we're looking for new members. And I thought it sounded really interesting. So applied, and it's a standard application interview process, and was very lucky to be chosen. So being on the Wise Young Professionals Board does involve quite a lot of support from your employers. So they give me 10 days pro bono per year to do my voluntary work with the Wise Young Professionals Board, which includes things like attending our 4 quarterly board meetings, which would normally be in person. Obviously, they've been virtual pretty much since I joined. We had our first in-person meeting 2 weeks ago where I got to meet the rest of the board, and that was really exciting. But as well as the board meetings, we also attend WISE events, so their annual conference we normally attend and run a workshop at. And there might be other events such as going and speaking to schools about what we do and about our jobs, as everyone on the Young Professionals Board is a person working in STEM, so can be a role model themselves. So we like to go out and do lots of outreach work. As a main point of the Young Professionals Board existing is to inspire the next generation, because we are new to our careers or more junior in our roles. And so we want to show people this is what it looks like at the beginning, and then point them up to our role models who might be more senior and say, this is what it looks like at the end. This is where you can get to. And it's a really fantastic group to be a part of. There's currently 12 of us from all sorts of industries, and we work together on projects such as our partnership with HarperCollins, big cat publishers, who make the Tara Binns book series, which is about a girl who has a magical dressing up chest, and when she gets into a costume, she becomes that person. So there have been costumes for coders, physicists, divers, volcanologists, a complete range of STEM careers. So we help HarperCollins find role models for those books who are women that actually do the jobs that are mentioned in the books, that they can provide resources to schools to show young girls there are women that do these books. Like it's not just, you know, a story, it's real. We also run a lot of projects on social media. So our current campaign is #Mythbusters, where we post video content busting myths about STEM careers or busting stereotypes about that, to try and kind of dispel some of the myths that might be putting people off getting into the industry. And then, as you said, I'm vice chair. So I've been vice chair since January of this year, which is the first time we've ever had this role, and it was very exciting. And that means I get to sort of, as well as taking part in all these amazing projects, help with the personal development of the rest of the board members as well. Obviously, it's voluntary, so we want to make sure they're getting something out of it. So we've run workshops in things like social media, in leadership skills. We're running one in, and that way, as well as becoming even more well-rounded board members than they already were, they can take those skills back into their companies and use it for career development. So it's different.
oh, I've lost you, Beth. Cut out.
Oh,
Can you
hello,
hear
am I
me?
still here?
Yeah, I've lost you.
I
Gone
can hear
glitchy
you.
a little bit. Brilliant. Lost you for a second there, but that's brilliant. Thank you. I think you can't underestimate the importance of role models and obviously to bust those stereotypes and dispel the myths. I think is really, really important. People want to see that the opportunities are real, and you can only really see that if you've got people living that and doing that right now. So final piece of advice from you, if you don't mind, to girls and women that would be inspired by your story and would want to pursue a career in STEM.
Absolutely. So I'll focus on tech in particular, since that's my sort of background. But I would say I think a lot of people believe that in order to get into a career in tech, you have to know how to code or something along those lines. And my piece of advice is that's not true. tech is actually more and more looking for soft skills. Many employers have lots of courses or workshops or training plans available to teach you those technical skills about coding and programming, so aren't necessarily looking for it on your CV. What they more care about nowadays is your soft skills. They're looking for leadership, they're looking for you being a team player, they're looking for you being an innovator or somebody who questions, and that's far more important because that's much harder to teach. And I think a lot of people may underestimate the value in some of their skills and also some of their experiences that they've had in life. So one that I like to bring up is the week before I started sixth form, I switched from doing a chemistry A level, which might have been way better for me for the degree path I chose, but I switched on to philosophy, which is completely unrelated. I just thought it would be fun. But doing philosophy actually instilled in me that questioning mindset, asking why, challenging people's views, challenging assumptions. And now in my career as a software tester, that's a really key part of my job. I need to question, is this working correctly? Is this right? Should this be doing this? And I think that, you know, from doing a year of philosophy, that's really helped me get to where I am and give me that key skill. So don't underestimate the skills that you have, and don't assume that you need to know everything technical to get into tech.
Thank you. That's so true. I think the curiosity, creativity, and the softer skills are so important. And whether it's through a degree or an apprenticeship, you can be taught and learn those technical skills. So thank you very much for sharing. I hope you continue to inspire the next generation. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.